Amidst the devastation of a burning city, two figures stood. The woman told Hyun-soo to pull himself together and listen, asking what would happen if she couldn't come back. With a shocked expression, Hyun-soo watched as she reached out to a system panel and gave him a glowing object. She instructed him to use this to return to the starting point. As Hyun-soo held out his hands, distressed, he received the glowing blue energy. A display appeared identifying the item as warped time and explaining that it caused a critical error in time to revert the past. Surprised, Hyun-soo asked about being given such an important item at the final moment, adding that she and Naiva actually matched well together. The woman refuted this, mentioning Naiva was their first constellation and urging him not to give the item away. Amidst the fiery destruction, she gave a stern command: remember to find Ahazar in the past and bring it back. She declared that in their next life, Ahazar would be their first constellation, hoping for a proper fight. Hyun-soo gazed out at the ruined city, questioning the idea of a next life. The woman considered that starting with Ahazar might allow them to reach the 90th floor instead of just the 70th, musing that reaching such a high level was necessary for it to be worthwhile. Hyun-soo emphatically told her to stop and demanded to know their plan. The woman told him not to worry and asked if he trusted her. She smiled confidently, promising she would come back safely. Waving goodbye, she walked away into a bright light. Hyun-soo thought that he shouldn't have let her go like that, wishing he had held on to her for as long as possible, explaining that Hyun Habin's farewell from the last run wasn't kept. The scene shifted to a city gate entrance. Men in hard hats looked tired under the bright sky, one suggesting they finish work quickly and go home. A person in a hard hat was seen pulling a heavy cart. A man nearby wondered why the young person was doing all the hard work, while someone else added that they also worked at a potion factory and were usually diligent. Two men called out to the person pulling the cart, who stopped and looked back. With a sound of surprise, she held up two fingers and asked if she would get a bit more pay for working so hard, before adding that double was too much. 5 years ago, countless gates had suddenly opened and monsters poured out, causing people in the city to run away screaming. At the same time, people known as Awakened appeared in the world. Hyun-soo had looked surprised as blue energy pulsed around him. They were called Hunters, fighting against the monsters. Because of that, existing social classes based on jobs, education, and family background disappeared, and only Hunters began to thrive in society. But that had nothing to do with me, really. Even though the class structure changed, the gap between rich and poor still existed. Those who didn't awaken had to make a living doing grunt work like cleaning up after gates or working in potion factories. A worker offered a water bottle to Habin, who reached for it. She explained that she was one of them. Another worker asked if she saw the message that popped up earlier. She replied that she was busy and had skimmed past it, asking what it was. The other worker explained it was an alert saying the gate would close soon and they should leave, telling her to pay more attention to basic alerts. She agreed to be more careful, but thought to herself how unlucky she was that everyone else got the alert. She wondered why she was the only one who didn't get it, since system windows and alerts should appear for her as a player. Silently, she wished for the bug to be fixed soon, noting it had been 5 years. She was faking seeing a system window, fearing she wouldn't get a job if others knew she wasn't awakened. A large monster was seen being moved as a final message thanked them for their hard work. A man told her she did well and wished her a safe trip home. The woman asked if he had seen the person she mentioned earlier, and he replied that he would contact her if he saw her brother. She thanked him. As evening arrived, she checked her phone, noting the upcoming factory workday. She thought about having to juggle 2 or 3 jobs despite not being an awakened person, resolving that she had her reasons for it. 5 years ago, tragedy struck during a gate incident. Her parents died and her brother disappeared in the chaos. Because of this, she had to quit school and work to pay off the house loan. She also had to buy information from hunters to find her brother, and no matter how much she worked, it was never enough. Looking up, she recalled the burdens she carried. She stood before a large apartment building under a bright sky, thinking the house was needlessly big, and suddenly feeling furious. She cursed having to overwork because they didn't sell it sooner and moved to a studio. Rushing out of the building, she pushed the door open, her eyes showing weariness and determination. Holding the doorknob, a thought lingered about the hope for a brother's return, the kind of hope that can drive someone mad. She wondered if this foolish waiting would ever end. Leaving the old shoes behind and stepping in, she thought about how the house remained unchanged despite the world outside. Approaching the familiar place, she expected a casual welcome, walking down the hallway towards home. She imagined a man at a table looking up and simply saying, "You're here," and a woman in the kitchen asking, "Our daughter, are you coming in? Want some food?" She imagined the woman adding with a smile that she ate all the leftover pizza, and a young man on the couch reacting, saying that really ticked him off. The young woman with the backpack smiled happily. The man sitting on the couch called out to her, telling her he ate all the leftover pizza because he was hungry waiting. He smirked, emphasizing his point with a gesture, and leaned back on the couch looking smug. The woman, standing by the door, asked if there was nothing to see, wondering if she was hallucinating from missing him so much. The man asked what she meant by hallucination. Surprised, she asked if it wasn't a hallucination, and he confirmed that it was not. The woman was left speechless. She stared in utter shock at the man she held. He felt it was worth returning home for such a passionate welcome from his sibling. She demanded to know why he was here. The man calmly asked if it was strange for him to be in his own home while thinking about stolen pizza. She shouted that it was strange, that he was missing for 5 years and didn't contact anyone at all. She looked emotionally overwhelmed. The man's eyes showed a flicker of recognition, followed by a realization. The woman suddenly grabbed his shirt, asking what was happening. Confused, he asked what it was. The woman explained her long experience on the dungeon floor. She stated that not having a status window made her exceptionally observant and asserted that she could judge an item's value purely by sight. Looking at the man with spiky hair, she said she knew his casual clothes weren't what they seemed. Surprised, the man showed her the gray garment. The woman pointed out the remarkable stitching on the cloth, impressed by its detail. She noticed the hidden black label on the item, which a title card revealed was part of the SS Rank Crafted Hunter Elemis's Special Casual Collection. A grand building, the home of Elemis in Paris, was shown, with staff bowing. In disbelief, Hyun Soo-yu asked how she knew about the garment. His sister confirmed its authenticity, addressing him directly. "You're awakened?" she asked. Hyun Soo-yu looked startled, responding with a confused, "Huh?" feeling scared. His sister asked if he'd been working as a hunter all this time. Flustered, Hyun-soo raised his hands defensively and tried to change the subject, saying that wasn't important right now. But his sister told him she had even filed a missing person report because he left without a word. Hyun-soo smiled nervously, realizing something, and admitted he had already canceled the missing person report a while ago. His sister looked utterly dumbfounded and asked if he was insane. She became angry, wondering why he never showed up. She started talking about how much she had gone through. Tensed, Hyun-soo asked if she was crying, but he was laughing, saying how he was worried about her. Suddenly, his sister's eyes glowed with power amidst swirling darkness, and she punched him in the gut. Hyun-soo coughed up blood while smiling. Loud, powerful impacts resonated near the buildings as she angrily yelled about all the hardships she had faced, insisting he should have contacted her if he was alive. She remembered dropping out of school to search for him, working day and night to pay off their family's debt and survive. Back in the present, Hyun-soo clutched his stomach in distress, saying he had no idea about any debt. The woman shouted, asking if he cared about her life. He stammered that there was a reason he couldn't tell her, but she yelled that his reason was meaningless and struck him with her hand. Stunned, Hyun-soo spat up more blood and frantically asked for just a few seconds. She calmly checked her phone, a slight smile on her face. A notification flashed on the screen showing a massive amount of money had been deposited. She looked at the phone while Hyun-soo asked if this huge sum could solve their urgent problems. She reacted with confusion, questioning what just happened, and grabbed his shirt in shock. The two of them sat, one looking stunned, the other waiting. Thoughts emerged about life having unspoken difficulties and how the man had truly suffered. The woman smiled warmly, placing a hand on his shoulder and stating that his health was what mattered most. He hesitated, simply agreeing. She worriedly asked if the money was legal and clean. Hyun-soo confirmed it was, thinking he should have just sent it earlier. She then insisted he tell her everything about his life, his rank as a hunter, and his affiliations. The man looked uncertain and began to speak. Hyun-soo teased that revealing a secret might mean taking back the money he gave her. The woman casually responded that she wasn't that curious anyway. He confirmed her feeling with a smile. Later, sitting together, Hyun-soo told her he brought something she had asked for earlier, mentioning he had left it in her room for her to see later. Puzzled, she asked if she really asked him for something. Hyun-soo assured her that she did. She thought to herself, wondering if such a request was real, acknowledging that forgetting was possible after 5 years apart. She also found it odd, feeling like she wouldn't be the type to ask him for anything in the first place. She questioned him again, asking if he was sure the item truly existed. He confirmed it did, telling her to consider it a birthday gift he went through trouble to get, and specifically instructed her not to sell it. As he stood up, she asked where he was going. He replied that he had to leave for work but would come back again sometime. Surprised, she asked for confirmation, wondering if he would really visit again. She called out, asking Hyun-soo to wait a second. Leaving through a doorway, he quickly said he'd contact them. She called out again, sounding urgent, and reached a hand towards the now-closed door, looking stunned. Thinking to herself, she felt suspicious and shady about the situation. Suddenly, she looked surprised by something, then looked down, wondering if she had found what was suspicious. A dark, mysterious box glowed with purple energy and dark shadows. She thought to herself that if she opened it, something big would happen. She didn't know what it was, but meddling with it could cause a huge problem. In this atmosphere, she guessed it was an item. For others, an alert window would have popped up. It truly felt shady. But would someone give something dangerous to their one and only younger sibling? Warning signs flashed everywhere. Red warnings appeared, indicating extreme danger. She was overcome by the sense of peril as the digital warnings intensified, wondering if she had seen something dangerous. Habin mumbled a hesitant, "Well," she recalled being told she was the one who asked for this herself. Red warning signs appeared more and more. Habin looked down, startled, surrounded by warning signals, questioning if his brother had given her something dangerous. Critical errors occurred, flooding the display. The system failed to detect the player, showing her level as undetectable and restriction failing. With a sound of opening, Habin reached for a box. Suddenly, despite the errors, access was approved and the system showed the seal on the item was being released. A powerful golden light erupted from the box as more cryptic errors appeared. Habin's eyes shone, and a message about minimal communication and errors popped up. A special system window was granted to Habin. Wide-eyed, Habin could only ask herself what this was. A new holographic message appeared before her eyes. The message asked if she would like to acquire the forbidden constellation Usurper Sword Ahezar. Habin recognized it as a status window. Considering the notification, Habin wondered what was truly happening. A shining, ornate sword manifested. Habin believed this must be the Usurper Sword Ahezar. She gasped in surprise. Thinking to herself, Habin questioned if Hyun-soo was attempting to deceive her. Hyun-soo posed playfully, surrounded by sparkles, while Habin reacted with exasperation and a shout of disbelief. Habin insisted she could tell the item was extraordinary just by looking. Looking at her phone, Habin mused that if it was a constellation notification, it must be the kind she knew about. Her phone displayed an entry from Kiwipedia defining constellation as something rare achieved by the awakened. The entry added that awakened individuals with constellations achieve greater feats. Another section listed Korean awakened with constellations. The list named Fidus and Che-jise. Habin stared at her phone, questioning who Fidus might be. She pondered this, noting the reference to a Korean awakened. The scene explains that Fides never removes his mask, so their identity is unknown. Habin found something that seemed to have been left behind. She decided she should tell him to take it back. Suddenly, a system notification popped up, stating it had been acquired. Habin looked utterly confused. More system messages appeared, mentioning acquiring a forbidden constellation usurper sword, a Hazar, and registering a new user. Habin realized the object registered itself just because her hand touched it. The object revealed itself as a dazzling sword. Urgent system warnings flashed, declaring the user was not a player and was a forbidden participant. Habin recoiled in shock as loud alarms blared. Again, red warning signs flashed everywhere around her. The system got overloaded and failed to verify something. More error messages stacked up repeatedly. Then, a final message declared that an impossible value had been generated. Papers and objects were thrown around the room violently. Habin cried out in distress, yelling what was wrong with the system. Hyun-soo, surrounded by red notifications, told them to calm down. Floating red screens surrounded Hyun-soo as if calculating something. Habin exclaimed, asking if he was trying to destroy the house. She added that she hadn't even finished paying off the loan and called him crazy. More red text screens appeared, attempting to calculate rank, grade, and stats, but failing or finding unsuitable values. Finally, a large message announced that the calculation was complete. A status screen appeared for Hyun Habin, showing unverified and inactive stats in the billions. Another message confirmed a forbidden participant's entry and that the power was obtained illegally. The system declared that the system administrator would now be hostile toward Hyun Habin. Habin stared wide-eyed at a notification. A nervous expression crossed her face. She had no words at first, as she asked hesitantly if she couldn't cancel this. The scene shifted. The Statue of Liberty appeared, bathed in bright light. A notification sound beeped. A message appeared greeting Sir Fides. Another message expressed immense joy at the visit from the world's #1 ranked hunter. The message continued, mentioning the hotel's finest service. Inside a luxurious hotel room, a masked man holding a remote turned off the TV. He wondered why a whole video was made for this, calling it embarrassing. As he prepared to sit on a comfortable sofa, the masked man sat down, looking weary. He sighed, saying he's exhausted. He took off his mask, revealing he was Hyun-soo, questioning why a meeting was called and people were brought to New York. Hyun-soo ran a hand through his hair, shaking his head. He expressed relief, feeling like he was going to die from sweating so much. A voice from a nearby weapon mocked him, saying that's what he gets for wearing a mask. The voice continued to tease, asking if he thought wearing a mask made him look cool. It was the soul of the weapon, a glowing woman with purple hair holding a staff, who appeared from it. She was the contemplating staff, Niaba, identified as one of the 7 most powerful constellations and the only holy relic-grade constellation. She was also described as the only memento from first turn Hyun Habin entrusted to the man. The woman asked Hyun-soo what he was looking at. Hyun-soo thought to himself that he would have thrown the memento away long ago if not for its significance. In his past life, his sister told him, "Hyun-soo, get a grip and listen carefully. If I don't return, use this to go back to the starting point. You must remember, if you happen to go to the past, acquire a Hazar and bring it to me." He claimed that it was a memory which he didn't want to recall. If he'd known that was truly the end, he would have at least said a proper goodbye. He denied that he shouldn't have just let her go like that. He should have held on as long as he possibly could. His younger sister from the previous turn, Hyun Habin, suddenly the staff spoke. Habin seemed very angry. Hyun-soo stated that he did disappear for 5 years without a word. But how was he supposed to know getting a Hazar would take that long? On top of that, everything he had to do to change the future was dangerous. What can you do? It's crawling with people trying to stop you. The staff replied, "True, both of you should live under different identities and not approach each other until you're established. If only I could tell her all this, Habin's anger might cool down." Hyun-soo nodded and agreed with the staff as he recalled a memory from 5 years ago. He looked around, realizing, I really returned to the past. Holding a withered branch, he thought, it said it could only be used once, and now it's really gone. Looking at the sign, he wondered, a temporary shelter? Does that mean it's right after a gate opened? Habin shouted, Hyun Habin is alive! Hyun-soo thought quickly. I have to hurry and tell Hyun Habin that I have regressed. A warning message appeared before Hyun-soo. Warning, this statement is fatal to system maintenance. Delivering this statement will turn the system administrator hostile. Seeing this, Hyun-soo reacted in frustration. Hyun-soo proposed he would go find a Hezar and wait a little. A system warning popped up saying this statement was fatal and will turn the system administrator hostile. The system showed its tongue to him. Hyun-soo reacted with confusion. Coming back to the present, Hyun-soo thought about why the warning didn't appear when he told Naiba. He wondered about the rules for contracted constellations who share memories. Relaxed on a couch, Hyun-soo said he had passed it on and Hyun Habin will take care of it. He remembered Hyun Habin saying something about hitting rank -1 if she started with a Hezar. He questioned if Hyun Habin was joking about a negative rank, wondering if a negative rank even existed. A status screen materialized, showing Hyun Habin's information with level, unverifiable, class, guardian of deceit, patron, a Hezar, grade, X, final, rank, -1. Hyun Habin stared at the screen, looking shocked. She asked quietly if this was real. A shining sword, a Hezar, suddenly appeared and declared, "It is real." Hyun Habin cried out, startled by the sword. The glowing sword spoke, thanking Habin for saving it. It explained it thought it would be sealed forever. She firmly grasped the sword's hilt. The sword reacted with confusion. Habin abruptly announced her intention to cancel their agreement and leave. Habin held the sword as it frantically protested, exclaiming she can't just reseal it. The sword insisted that resealing was impossible now that the seal was broken. Habin stubbornly declared she wanted to reseal it anyway. The sword desperately revealed it's already registered as Habin's constellation. It shouted that she can't cancel her very first constellation. Habin struggled with the sword over the box, looking angry. She reacted with shock at the news of the constellation registration. Habin checked a digital screen displaying important notes on constellations. The screen explained the critical importance of the first constellation contract compared to future ones. Habin sighed deeply in frustration after reading the notes. The sword questioned why Habin disliked the idea so strongly. It boasted that despite how it sounded, it was the most powerful constellation. Habin reacted with surprise as she could now see the status window. She decided to check the constellation information herself. A holographic screen appeared, detailing the first constellation, O'Ridden, the most powerful god of war. It stated he was stripped of his status and sealed for treason. Habin recognized the name O'Ridden from legendary grade items. She wondered if this meant O'Ridden was also Holy Relic grade. Text clarified that Holy Relic grade was the highest level, with only one constellation currently holding it. Habin was shocked by another detail from the status window. She looked towards a luminous sword nearby as she denied it, because every other constellation would treat him as an enemy. The sword began to speak. It explained its treason was committed to prevent the world's destruction. It was the price paid for trying to stop the system administrator. The sword urgently warned that this world's destruction was imminent. It insisted the world would surely end if they failed to stop the system administrator. Habin responded to the sword's plight, finding its life pitiful. She concluded that even though it was strong, it was also a total outcast. The sword reacted to being called an outcast. Habin paused, considering what she's heard. She decided to assume the sword was telling the truth for now. Habin reasoned that if the world ended anyway, getting stronger was still a good thing. She concluded that focusing on getting stronger was the immediate priority. Habin worried that revealing her power would make the system and everyone else hostile towards her. The sword let out a surprised sound. Habin wondered if she was really supposed to break through all that opposition and danger to stop the destruction. The sword hesitated, unsure how to respond. Habin asked when the sword thought the world would end. The sword replied that in its world, it took about 30 years after the first signs of destruction. Habin calculated that since the gates appeared about 5 years ago, they had about 25 years left. The sword agreed that her calculation was probably correct. Habin slammed her hand down with resolve. The sword excitedly asked if she had finally decided. Habin, sparkling with enthusiasm, declared she would play as hard as she could for the next 25 years. The sword reacted in shock. Habin announced she would do everything she wanted and live without any regrets. She walked away with determination. The sword was confused and asked if she planned to let her overwhelming power just go to waste. The sword reacted with a bewildered sound. Habin argued that she wasn't the one who will be using it. Her expression was wide-eyed and somewhat relieved. The glowing sword seemed to provoke the suggestion of aiming for ultimate power. Habin recalled her past goal of becoming an awakened person to find her family. But Habin stated her family suddenly reappeared today. The sword asked if she had other desires, perhaps for money. Habin admitted she did want money, but then revealed she unexpectedly received a huge sum today. She held up a symbol related to money. A surprised reaction came from the sword. Habin revealed her true intention was to enjoy her life for 25 years with the money. Her eyes glowed with dollar signs and she smiled greedily. She looked at something on her phone. Habin cheerfully thanked the sword as she left. She struggled to recall the sword's name and said goodnight. The other party, a small creature, was so shocked that the sword's spirit left its body. In shock, the sword wondered what he was supposed to do now. It was that day, at a regular, boring school, someone wondered if something could finally happen in her life. Maybe like becoming part of a fantasy game or a dungeon break with hunters. Habin asked him if he ever got tired of using the same old stories for her comics. "Do I?" he asked again. His name was Hyun Si-woo. Hyun Si-woo just thought it would be fun to live a life like that. "Don't you think so?" he asked her. Habin looked back at Hyun Si-woo. Habin looked back, pondering her past words. Hyun Si-woo gazed upwards, sensing something amiss. Suddenly, the sky turned a dark, ominous red. People gasped as a black hole crackled open in the clouds. Confusion spread as they wondered what was happening to the sky. "Is that a hole?" someone asked. The strange opening intensified, filled with crackling energy. Loud roars erupted as a monstrous creature began to emerge. Skeletal figures were pulled from the swirling abyss. Back in the classroom, students screamed in terror. Habin looked around, stunned by the chaos, asking what the monster was. As she got overwhelmed, she thought this was insane. Hyun Habin cried out to Taeseo, asking if he saw it. Taeseo replied that it was a status window. Hyun Habin reacted in disbelief. Looking at the strange window, he murmured about a wish. A man was looking at the status window and declared that the wish came true. The shimmering light rained down onto the classroom desks. Then a voice spoke to Hyun Habin on the phone, delivering sudden and difficult news. It told her that her parents were caught in the gate incident. Standing alone in the hallway, Hyun Habin reflected that her entire family had vanished, like a cruel twist of fate, except for her. She thought about how hard she had tried to become a hunter and reclaim everything. Habin screamed, desperately calling for the status window and a quest. But even her frantic cries brought back nothing. "Why won't it work?" she thought, kneeling in despair. The moment she gave up on everything and finally came to her senses, all that was left was debt, loneliness, and the crushing fear of not surviving another day. Only the cold, brutal reality remained. So that's how it was, she realized, shock and pain washing over her face. Lying there defeated, strange lights and sounds began to appear around her. Suddenly sitting up, Habin looked around, startled by the change. A voice asked Habin if she was awake. Ahazar screamed as Habin put her leg on him. Habin's presence demanded to know why Ahazar looked into its past. Ahazar quickly denied snooping, pulling away, as he explained that the first constellation always shares memories. Ahazar's immense power began to crack the floor. Ahazar frantically told Habin to calm down before the floor broke. Ahazar wondered about this intense power. Energy radiated outwards. The floor was visibly broken where Ahazar was. Ahazar reminded Habin it warned her the floor would break. Ahazar shouted, scared that it was Habin's fault, not its. Ahazar yelled that Habin awakened it and it cannot control its power yet. Habin sighed, wondering how she will fix the broken floor. But Habin decided something else needed to be handled immediately. Habin looked at her phone, still holding Ahazar. The scene shifted. Typing sounds echoed in the quiet office. Hyun-soo let out a weary sigh. Perhaps it was time to call it a day. His staff spirit advised the SPS president to sleep it off, noting even he was busy at home. The spirit asked if he wasn't secretly enjoying this double life. The man reacted in disbelief, asking what the spirit was talking about. The spirit recalled the lazy person who used to melt into the couch watching TV on days off, showing an image of the man lounging with someone named Podong. She said he was like a dog out running errands. The spirit added that with the boss's generous spirit, delicious food was delivered from all over. The spirit couldn't understand how he ended up handling all the difficult international hunter issues and managing associations, still pulling all-nighters because of it. The man insisted Habin would back off immediately if she had her way and wasn't doing this for fun. The spirit pointed out that he was the one who helped found SPAS and was now its president. The man looked at the spirit, slightly put out. The spirit leaned in, teasing that he didn't really need to work this hard and looked like he was enjoying it. The man groaned in utter frustration. As his phone started vibrating, Hyun-soo looked at it with a puzzled expression. Messages from Habin appeared on his phone screen. Habin asked about a sword he left behind. She said it was buzzing intensely. Habin asked if he lost it. She stated she didn't need weird gifts. Habin told him to get back home immediately and take it back. The spirit was visibly shocked by the messages. He internally questioned what was happening, wondering what kind of twist this was. He thought about Ahazar's seal being released and the contract being made. The spirit pondered the situation. He questioned why Habin and Ahazar weren't getting along like before. Hyun-soo stood up, looking worried. The spirit asked what was going on. Hyun-soo decided he needed to go home and check things. He turned away, hesitating. Hyun-soo worried that he might not stand a chance if they were fully awakened. At Habin's place, the sword spirit stated, "If my memory's right, you're being targeted by the system not because of me. Even though the rest of the world integrated into the status window, you couldn't, so you must have been an error from the start. You got on the system's bad side. And your power? It's abnormal. Even with my strength, there's no way you could have had that kind of power. It's definitely an overload caused by a system glitch." Habin sat on the floor, distracted by her phone. The sword shouted, "When someone talks, you're supposed to listen." "You're not even human," Habin replied. Habin was texting her boss, confirming she'll be on break forever from now on, so he didn't need to give her any work. She happily shouted, "Done! I told everyone I quit! I'm so happy! I'm gonna live my best life until the world ends!" Habin cheered and raised her arms in excitement as Ahazar the sword stood nearby, shockingly asking, "Wait, did you even hear what I said? Did you even listen properly?" Habin happily looked at her phone, thinking about signing up for streaming services she couldn't afford before. $10 a month, that used to feel like such a huge deal. Habin considered what else to subscribe to and if she should recharge her cash, with Ahazar the sword stooped in the background. He thought, "I don't know what this is, but she definitely sounds like she's just planning to goof off, and the world's in danger." Habin tried to calm him down. She explained how she used the money. She said she budgeted for 25 years of expenses and fun. Money and expensive items filled the air. Habin thought it was fine to spend a lot. Habin was happy with all the money and her new things. She finally got to watch all the shows she missed. Habin said she was binge-watching now. The sword spirit guy was really angry and told her that's not important now. There was a sudden sound. Hyun-soo announced he was back. The sword guy recognized Hyun-soo and asked if he came to save him. Hyun-soo smiled confidently by the door, simply denying it. A powerful effect surged. Habin suddenly charged forward. Hyun-soo looked surprised, surrounded by light. He said he got caught too. He was taken down instantly. Habin demanded to know what the gift he brought really was. Hyun-soo confessed that he wished he knew himself. He thought they just needed to get through this somehow. Hyun-soo then asked Habin if she always treated her brother this badly. She made a threat. "Do you have a death wish?" He pleaded with Habin to let go of him so they could actually talk. Still holding a hazar on him, Habin pressed, asking if this thing wasn't from his work and if he had taken it by mistake. Hyun-soo insisted it had nothing to do with his job and reminded her she was the one who asked him to bring it. He explained it was a package with her name on it that he was told to take home, and Habin admitted she had forgotten about asking him. Habin reacted with disbelief, exclaiming how she could send herself a package when she was thought to be missing. Hyun-soo thought to himself that Habin was sharp and that this drastic measure might be the only way. Both Habin and Hyun-soo realized the absurdity, questioning how a package could have come from herself. Habin pointed out that Hyun-soo hadn't even considered that fact, while Hyun-soo frantically wondered where the package came from and who sent it. He gripped Ahazar tightly. Questioned about the sword, the person admitted they threw the packaging away, and they were just trying to make it sound like a birthday gift to gloss over things. She gripped the sword tighter, annoyed as she revealed she only said it was hard to get just to brag. She thought that made way too much sense, and it was annoying. Habin looked annoyed. Hyun-soo smiled playfully. Hyun-soo boasted about his skills earned in his second life. Hyun-soo looked confused about the sword. Habin was shocked that Hyun-soo didn't know anything about it. Habin despaired, wondering how she could explain things if even Hyun-soo was clueless. Habin, wielding Ahazar in a panic, screamed that the world was ending and begged Hyun-soo for help. Habin's eyes widened in terror. Habin started yelling intensely, telling the sword he couldn't just scream that all over town. The sword yelled that humanity needed to know. Meanwhile, Hyun-soo thought to himself that sometimes ignorance is bliss. She issued a harsh threat. She warned that blabbing to others would result in being sealed away. The sword reacted with a gasp. In another moment, Habin confronted Hyun-soo. Habin expressed her fear of being killed and facing an unknown enemy. The sword reacted with clear annoyance. While she offered a simple apology to Hyun-soo, the conversation shifted to the importance of thinking before acting, beyond just being strong. One person pointed out that this very flaw led to failure in the previous cycle. The other person was surprised, wondering if that could truly be the reason. A moment of understanding brought a sense of connection. Hyun-soo asks, "So let me get this straight. He's a constellation, the world's going to end, and he came to you asking to smash the system together?" He directs his question towards Hyun Habin. He declares the whole idea honestly ridiculous. Hyun-soo and Habin sit around a coffee table laden with pizza. The pizza was ordered to help Habin down, and Habin seeks confirmation. Sword Spirit expresses frustration. Hyun-soo asks when exactly this end of the world is supposed to occur. In return, Habin explains the date is vague, but it seems they have at least 25 years left. Man can't believe it, realizing it's not happening anytime soon. Habin confirms this fact. Sword Spirit reacts with stunned surprise, and it shouts that complacency is the problem with humans. He angrily accuses Habin of neglecting everything and leaving it to others. Habin admits there is some truth to the spirit's words. The man asks Habin if she's just going to relax now. Habin replies that she plans to have fun and do things she's always wanted. The man seems surprised she has so many things on her list. Habin begins listing her plans, starting with catching up on dramas. She continues, mentioning a list of restaurants she wants to visit. Habin adds that she also needs to spend time on her hobbies. The man acknowledges that he understands her intentions. The man declares they are finished talking and he will be leaving now. Habin is startled and tries to call out. Habin stammers, using a formal address for the man. The man reacts strongly, yelling at her to use his casual name and asking what she needs. Habin apologizes for calling him unexpectedly. Habin asked Hyun-soo to keep her secret about awakening. She just wanted to live quietly. Habin seemed to be truly begging him on this. Hyun-soo turned and walked away, agreeing on her words. As Hyun-soo walked towards his door, a staff spirit questioned if he was really leaving. The spirit called out to Hyun-soo again. Just as Hyun-soo was about to enter his house, footsteps echoed as he stood outside his door. Thoughts raced through his mind, wondering if he would fight the system again. He thought it seemed like she made a safe contract with Ahazar. Standing in the hallway, Hyun-soo thought about the past 5 years crawling through hell to save Ahazar. He also thought about how much he suffered climbing to rank 1 and wondered if it was time for Habin to help out now. Reaching out his door, he thinks about finally subscribing to streaming services. Just a small cost now, but it felt huge before. A sudden realization hits him. What other services can he sign up for? Maybe he should add cash to his online account too. He remembers years of faking knowledge about popular shows. Turning, he decides to binge-watch everything he missed, starting now. He realizes that's how he lived for 5 years, unable to enjoy anything others did, never having time to rest. If it were the Hyun Habin before she returned, she would be at the top now, thriving. And the reason he couldn't was because he ended up taking Niaiba, the constellation that was supposed to be hers first. He states that this set off a butterfly effect. Technically, the past Habin caused it, so he should blame himself. Staff Spirit speaks, "Wow, this guy. He really are flaky as hell." Then she thought, either feel bad or be shameless. Pick one. Man blamed past Habin for everything. Staff Spirit shows her frustration. Man thought in frustration she was doing fine based on scattered info, as he was holding his head. He continues, he should replace his informants, admitting he didn't even know she was in debt. He was distressed. He thought to himself that he had no idea she was struggling so much. Staff Spirit questioned if he was really going to leave her like this. His hand reached out as he wondered what else he could do if she wanted to rest. Spirit then asked, who would stop the world from ending? Hyun walks away. The Niaiba Spirit says that without Haben there's almost no chance of winning. Niaiba tells Hyun that sometimes the world just ends. She reminds him she is his constellation, but he is talking nonsense. Hyun grins confidently. He asks if it's truly impossible for someone like him to stop it. The Niaiba Spirit looks shocked. Hyun says that Niaiba really can't lie. A description shows the details about Niaiba, the thinking staff, for her insight and judgment. He thinks Niaiba's calculations are probably accurate, but he considers forcing someone who finally has time to breathe. He wonders how he could possibly drive her back to the battlefield again. Haben looks happy, holding her phones. An angry little sword spirit is near Haben. Hyun walks down the street. The staff spirit floats next to Hyun and realizes what Hyun is thinking. Hyun felt that another attempt wasn't guaranteed to succeed. He thought it was better than clinging to false hope and suffering again. Maybe it would be better to just accept fate and find happiness where they could. As Hyun walked, Staff Spirit follows him, suggested that maybe this time they could stop it. She continues that this version of Haben was stronger than ever before. Hyun told Spirit that even Oraiden's people had failed at that before. He reminded her that they had failed too, once. No matter how powerful Haben was, it wasn't right to put everything on one person. Spirit asks Hyun what about his 5 years of hard work. Hyun responded that he didn't suffer at all, actually. Thanks to Haben giving Niaiba to him, he just hit rank 1 and cruised all the way. As Hyun walked away, Niaiba followed. Hyun thought that he wasn't the one who had it rough. Spirit tells him that he cannot hide something as clear as the sun. She wonders if Haben has great potential. She believes that Haben's power will surely be seen by the world. A government letter arrives for an awakened examination. Haben reads the notice while a sword spirit asks what it is. Haben explains the letter is from the government about a test for awakened people. Sword Spirit exclaims that their power must have been sensed. Haben asks who did it, in angry voice questions who reported them. Haben's eyes glow red as she clenches her fists in frustration. Haben worries she will go to jail if she does not show up. The fiery creature is shocked, asking if hiding power makes you a criminal? Haben reacts with shock and frustration, steam rising from her head. The sword spirit excitedly approves of the nation's strict policy. It claims the nation is amazing for not tolerating hidden power. Haben snaps back, asking what's so amazing about that? The sword spirit preaches about not walking the path of a criminal and upholding the law. Haben points and yells in frustration. She shouts that she is the kind of person who helps neighbors kindly, even without laws. The sword spirit looks shocked and angry. It yells that Haben is lying. Haben asks why it is yelling now. Haben sighs heavily and sits down and thinks they are desperate to register awakened and jump on any hint. The sword spirit excitedly asks if this is their chance to take out the system manager. Haben pulls at her hair in exasperation. She questions if this is democracy, stripping people's freedom after the gate incident. The sword spirit looks determined, smugly declares this time they won't let the world fall to ruin again. Haben looks nervous as she thinks. She considers if a debuff potion could reduce her stats. She decides to check her status window and stats. Haben looks at a holographic screen in front of her. The screen displays her HP and mana in the billions. Habin realizes she is ridiculously overpowered now. A note says no potion can hide this kind of power. Habin sits with wide eyes, crushing a piece of paper. She worriedly mummers, there must be a way to slip out of this. The sword spirit comments on her intense willpower to avoid jail. She raised questions about the Awakened Safety Management Act. A stern warning is shown. Failure to comply with the Awakened Safety Management Act could lead to imprisonment. She opens Hunter Wiki to clarify. Habin reads on her phone about the new Awakened Safety Management Act, a law created after the Gate incident, her eyes wide with surprise. She learns that the power held by Awakened far surpassed any nation's military, crumpled paper in her hand. After the Gate incident, Rogue Awakened committed countless crimes, overwhelming public authority, leading to chaotic street battles. This created a global lawless state for a while. Habin sighs, remarking that it was truly a crazy era. Sword Spirit beside her looks shocked. She continues reading on her phone. However, the era of lawlessness ended with the arrival of the world's #1 ranked Awakener, Fidus, who stands as a masked figure. Fidus clenches his fist and speaks, preparing to act. With overwhelming power, Fidus subdued criminal awakened and lawless zones alike. Someone asks from above if everything is sorted. She continues, Fidus publicly supporting laws and defending the rights of non-awakened. She adds that he established a testing system to prevent violent rampages. Habin looks down at her phone, deep in thought. Habin tells Spirit it is finally time to use the power she always wanted. The Spirit asks if it is time to stop the apocalypse. She replied in denial. Habin says she just wants to punch Fidus a bit. Hun Seo smiles and says he'll be the older brother for once. Hun Seo, holding a mask, says if his sibling wants a break, then fine. As Hun Seo declares he will be the one to destroy the world, his eye glowing fiercely. She pressed the play button on a video. A masked figure began speaking on the screen. The masked figure declared that even if the world has changed, the values humanity must uphold remain unchanged. This is the democratic result that countless philosophers, sociologists, and activists have protected with their blood over a long time. If there are outlaws trying to overturn this history with the law of the jungle, he will not forgive them. Habin watched, feeling a strange aversion build up. She wondered if she had heard the speech correctly. Reading an article, she saw that Fidus was now called a hero after his speech. The article said Fidus helped Korea recover. It also stated Fidus helped organize the Hunter Association. The article proclaimed Fidus was humanity's only hero. Habin paused, deep in thought. She suspected the article might be written by a fan. The sword spirit next to Habin told her to put it down, saying Fidus is a good person. Habin lies back, pleading for the hero, but declares this person is now just her enemy. She shows a picture of a masked figure looking angry. She asks if the hero doesn't understand the consequences, lamenting about innocent awakened like herself, stating the hero should have been righteous in moderation. Habin reacts with exaggerated shock. Sword Spirit wonders if this is truly the image of a saint, as Habin wishes they had just enough freedom to hide their power, believing that would have been enough. Habin even sheds tears over not being able to play. Looking at phone, Habin questions why this person works so hard as a hero. She finds it suspicious. She wonders if he could be the villain, following novel tropes. Habin, cunningly, thinking the cleanest one might be rotten. Sword Spirit asking, is it really? She confidently states it's a cliché, but he can't fool her eyes. She senses something trivial and familiar about him. She speculates his public justice hides a private snack thief. Habin ponders the mystery of Masked Man's identity. She realizes finding out won't immediately solve her problem. She leans on the table, seemingly frustrated. Sword Spirit suggesting a risky idea. The idea is to threaten to Masked Man. Habin reacts with a serious expression, scolds Jaljala about threatening people and mentions human rights. Sprinty asks they why she threatens him. In response, Habin reminds him he isn't a person. Habin sits on the floor, then decides to calmly reconsider the situation. She thinks about needing a way to hide her power for the awakened test. A notification arrives on the phone. It's a message from Hyun-soo. Habin reacts with surprise to the message. The message shares a tip about someone hiding their power. The first tip suggests changing job title or making it private. The second tip mentions that better control helps hide power. Habin focuses intently reading the tips. She wonders what these tips are. Habin finds the tips too specific to be from just an acquaintance. Sword Spirit questions why someone would give such detailed tips. She concludes the tips are about Habin herself. Meanwhile, Hyun-soo has felt bothersome itching sensation in his ear. Staff Spirit tells him to wash it off. Hyun-soo protested that he washes every day. The spirit admitted to just wanting to tease him. Hyun-soo felt annoyed. Habin at home called for status window. Doing a hand gesture, nothing appeared, so she specified status. A holographic status window began to appear. The status window displayed a unique and provocative job description. Habin looked up at the revealed information about her. Job title, Guardian of Deception. Description: you who deceive the entire system and walk a path are an unparalleled hypocrite in this world. Habin wondered aloud about a skill that could disguise a job title. Habin pondered if Hyun-soo knew about these skills and told her. She decided she should change the job title displayed first. A message appeared asking Deceiver's Wish. More text appeared explaining rules and options for job selection. She considered that Magic Swordsman would be a good job, as a common one was easiest to disguise with. She was asked what form Sword wanted to disguise himself as. Sitting beside Habin, a small flame spirit seemed to ask if it was the one being referred to. Habin suggested disguising as a baseball bat or a hammer. It even offered that a plunger would be fine too. Sword Spirit exclaimed in shock, asking if that wasn't too much. He thought that if a swordsman swung things like that, it would be even weirder and scarier. Habin held up a phone and told him to choose from these options instead. Sword Spirit looked surprised at the phone being offered. A hand shows different swords on a phone screen. Sword Spirit was speechless. The Sword Spirit looks angry, telling Habin she were planning this from the start and just teasing him. As Habin smiles playfully, she thinks, their little smarty seems to be getting smarter. She's so proud. She grips the hilt of a hezar, asking Sword to be prepared to change the name. Habin holds a hezar as blue light surrounds it. A whooshing sound is heard. She says, "Good, it's a very ordinary sword." Habin holds a hezar giving instructions, not to speak anyone when they outside, except her. The Sword Spirit looks dejected, agrees. Thinks inwardly, she'll just threaten him again if he don't comply anyway. Habin looks thoughtful, looking at a holographic screen. She thinks, now then, what's left is stats. What should we do about this? It says we can't change stats with Deceiver's Wish. She reacts, these crazy. Habin continues to think. She wonders, but they'll measure mana stats in the awakened test, right? She realizes, then the peaceful daily life I dream of is ruined, isn't it? The Sword Spirit suggests to confront the system administrator, so he wouldn't need to change like this. Habin thinks to herself not to give up and learn about her enemy. Sword Spirit seems to agree, saying, that's right. The Sword Spirit then urges Habin to confront the system administrator and reveal her power. Habin is annoyed and pushes the Sword Spirit away, saying she doesn't want to. She declares she will get the lowest grade and live her life however she can. Sword Spirit cries out in frustration. We are told that Habin searched through many documents to understand the awakened test. It was a truly passionate effort from Habin. As a result, Habin was able to find important information. Habin realizes that simple testing devices use mana-sensing stones. Typing on her laptop, Habin wonders if they can also take precise measurements. She questions the point of needing precise measurements. Habin firmly decides she will use the simple measurement method to live an easy life. Habin looks wide-eyed and possessed. Habin asks if they got it. The Sword Spirit suggests getting some sleep for now. Habin is exhausted and rests her head on her laptop. Habin murmurs about needing to hide her stats. Habin is back at her laptop typing. Habin asks Spirit if she knows anything. The Sword Spirit replies, I don't know. The Sword Spirit looks away and starts trembling and sweating. Habin turns to look at the sword spirit. State that when the sword spirit says that, it can only mean he does know something. She adds that she has learned from him that lying is a skill. Habin glares angrily at the sword spirit. The sword spirit with fearful voice declared, I don't know. Habin smiles, resting her head on her hand. Habin comments that their smarty is a fool. Habin closes her eyes, looking tired. Sword states that he would really like to get some sleep first. Habin suddenly realizes something, tells him she shall status window. The sword spirit grows large and angry, letting out a shout. The sword yells that this is what it means and that it's cheating. Habin asks how it's cheating for it to look at its own constellation information. She calls out for status window. The screen explains the hidden arts, a basic technique for martial artists to conceal their presence. Habin is shocked, realizing it was such a fundamental skill all along. She gasps in surprise with the sword spirit flickering beside her head. Habin stood up, feeling confident, declaring she will master it before the test. She tells the sword spirit confidently to look forward to it. Meanwhile, the staff spirit seems exhausted and lets out a weary sigh. Finally, the day of the test arrives. Tall city buildings stand under a clear sky. Looking at the place, Habin wonders if this is the correct place. The camera pulls back to reveal a seemingly ordinary health center under a bright sky. Habin stands before the building, wielding her sword Ahazar. A shimmering light surrounds the scene. Inside the health center reception area, the setting appears strikingly normal, as Sword continuously mutters about something is impossible. Habin stands nearby, appearing unfazed by the spirit's reaction. Habin questions him about repeated exclamations of impossibility. Sword Spirit vehemently insists that such a skill cannot be easily mastered. The spirit cries out in frustration, wondering what kind of person Habin is. The spirit explains that this type of skill is exceedingly rare. Meanwhile, a voice calls out to Miss Hyun Habin, asking her to use the testing device for her simple test. Habin agrees to the test with a cheerful reply. The testing device activates with dramatic effect, displaying various readings. The distraught spirit despairs, feeling the world is ruined by Habin's unexpected abilities, while Habin thoughtfully ponders how much of her power she needs to conceal. The wailing spirit pleads with Habin to at least pretend to listen to its desperate pleas. Habin thinks about erasing her presence, wondering if erasing too much might be bad. She considers that from the machine's view, she might not even be seen as a person. Hiding too much might make the machine judge her as an inanimate object, which would be troublesome. She decides to reveal just a little bit of herself. A tiny amount should be fine. Habin reaches out, wondering if this amount looks ordinary. A shimmering sound is heard. Another sound echoes. Habin's eyes widen in surprise. She says, "Huh?" A loud sound erupts. Blue energy surges from the machine. The energy swirls and flows. Blue energy courses through the air. Habin's eyes snap wide in surprise. He asks, "Huh?" The energy builds to a peak. A massive explosion of blue light erupts. The blast tears apart the surroundings. In another place, people react in shock to the sudden power surge. Habin looks on in bewilderment. It was machine which gets blast, but now there's nothing left. Smoke erupts from the shattered debris. The sword spirit exclaims, "Oh, as expected, what incredible power!" Habin stutters in disbelief. "What the?" She wonders, "Why is this thing so weak?" and laments, "She just wanted to rest at home in peace." She concludes, "If I've committed any crime, it's overestimating the scanner." Habin clutches her head in distress. She wonders if the offense was truly worth such an explosion. Man from office questions what occurred. Habin stares in shock. The air shimmers with a strange effect. Habin looks utterly panicked. She internally frets about how to explain the situation. Habin resigns herself to the situation. She decides she must proceed. The sword spirit appears, looking smugly gloats that she must reveal her powers now. Man nearby reacts to the smoke and debris. He tells it's busted and asks if she is all right. He declares the item is defective. Man and Habin stand facing the sword spirit. Habin angrily confirms the item is definitely defective. Hyun-soo questions the statement in disbelief. Hyun-soo asks them to repeat themselves. Habin becomes agitated. She angrily asks how they could install defective equipment paid for by taxes. Habin shouts, asking what if she had been injured. The sword spirit dismisses her concern, claims that even if the machine exploded 1,000 times, she wouldn't burn a single eyelash. Habin declares she'll report the situation to the news. Man recoils in terror. The sword spirit seems appalled. Finally, the civil servant believed Habin and granted a retest at a different center. Spirit shock and disbelief as if this is still just blackmail, and retest is underway. Habin lies still, resolving to play dead even if mistaken for an object. This was Habin's firm intention. The sword spirit reacts with sympathy. A voice excitedly announces, "You're rated A class, congratulations!" The room erupts in celebration with confetti. People begin applauding vigorously. A box confirms Habin was rated A class. The applause continues echoing. Hyun-soo clutches his head and screams that it makes no sense. She suggests the machine must be broken. She insists something is definitely wrong. Someone asks if Hyun-soo is okay. Another person reminds him that A-class signifies a high-level hunter. Man and woman seemed surprised by the scene unfolding before them. Man couldn't help but wonder about the teenager's expectations. They thought it was unfortunate, and believed the girl would later regret her public outburst. The girl screamed loudly, tears streaming down her face. In her mind, she couldn't accept what was happening. Outside, the health center stood against the sky. On this day, unseen by Habin, Ahizar felt only pure joy. Ahizar's delight manifested as the sword spirit danced happily. Habin was sleeping on bed. She felt like her easy life was over. Habin mourned the loss of her blissful days of lounging in bed. The sword spirit tried to console her, asking why she was upset. The sword spirit internally justified its actions, believing it had hidden its happiness well to avoid Habin's anger. Habin admitted that, technically, she had avoided the worst-case scenario. As pyramid shows of rank, she explains the incredibly small number of SS, SA, and S-rank hunters makes tracking detailed rankings difficult, contemplating the possibility of reaching SS rank or even higher. Scene shifts. Hyun-soo stares at a futuristic screen displaying world and Korean hunter rankings. He wonders why the ranking hasn't changed despite hearing about a new SS rank hunter. Surely everyone should have been pushed down one spot. People would naturally question this, especially since below A rank, the sheer number of hunters makes detailed tracking pointless. Habin looks panicked, realizing these high ranks are the last chance for any kind of private life. But her hand reaches out towards a paper on a desk. Habin sits on her bed, holding the document, feeling a lack of freedom, especially as an A rank. It seems anyone B rank or higher is required to attend the training institute. Reading the new hunter orientation information sends a jolt through her. She realizes refusing to go will lead to her arrest and imprisonment. She yells in frustration. She wanted C class. As Sword Spirit wonders if C ranks are exempt from the training center. A voice explains C ranks get to train comfortably online. Habin imagines herself relaxed, doing online training in pajama pants. Explains that B rank and higher must train in person for a full month under constant supervision. Habin realizes she must go to the center and hide her powers. Habin laughs hysterically, worried she might die from stress-related hypergrowth. She lists another potential embarrassing way she might die from stress. The Sword Spirit laments the country's policy of trapping high-level users in training. As Habin feels like she might actually die. Habin collapses onto a couch, looking distressed. She wonders why Korea seems to handle things so well. She suggests that if reincarnated, one should become a Korean-praising YouTuber eating spicy food. She recalls foreign channels having strange names. Sword Spirit finds the idea unexpectedly epic. The Sword Spirit cries in despair. Suddenly, her phone begins to ring. A notification appears on the phone screen. Habin sees a message from her class president. She asks in surprise. She thinks to herself, is it that time already? She reflects that she dropped out before the first year ended. She muses that half the group left during the gate crisis, yet the chat group lasted 5 years. She concludes it's probably because of that person. The scene shifts and a voice says, figures. The class reunion group chat appears. Treasurer An Se-won says they should organize it. Treasurer An Se-won asks if Kang Tae-so will come this time. Kim Ji-yeon asks about Kang Tae-so. Suni bursts in asking if Tae-so is coming. Suni asks again, "For real?" Kim Ji-yeon replies that Kang Tae-so is super busy, and chat keeps going. Habin looks at the intense chat conversation. The sword spirit beside her looks shocked. He wonders, Kang Tae-so? What kind of guy is he to get people this hyped? As we gets introduced, Kang Tae-so, Korea's top SSS ranked hunter. He was the top student from Yunseol High, Class 1-7. He's now Korea's representative hunter, #2 globally and #1 nationally. Kang Tae-so is called a true national treasure and ultimate celebrity. Looking at the chat, she thinks that it feels like a completely different era now. She remembers in high school he used to sit in the back and share novels and comics with her. She observes that he's gotten so much taller since she last saw him. The woman thinks, this is awkward, seriously. She wonders how to describe seeing a long-lost friend's face plastered all over the streets. Her phone starts pinging with notifications. The woman complains that her phone is heating up from the group chat. She thinks, honestly, the group chat only exists because they secretly hope Kang Tae-so will message one day, and the only reason it's still going is because he hasn't actually left the chat. She looks angry. She remarks on people looking down on him in the past and wonders why everyone wants to see someone else and not her, frustrated about missing reunions. The sword spirit states that success changes everything and people would cling to her if she revealed herself. Habin shouts, "No need," rejecting the idea. Habin reconsiders, thinking she should see everyone one last time if the world is really ending. She texted in group that she's going this time. Habin reacts in shock as no one replied. The sword spirit is surprised too. The sword spirit points out that Habin was completely ignored. Habin falls onto the bed, exclaiming in frustration. The sword spirit asks if Habin is sulking. Habin strongly denies sulking. Scene shifts somewhere at night. Two figures stand on a city street at night. One figure asks the other what he is staring at. The other figure starts walking without saying. He gets clueless watching him walking. He dismisses the other person as still socially clueless. He declares he's done here and ready to leave. A distinct sound of stepping can be heard. The scene shifts to the quiet night city view. Footsteps echo in the street. Hyun-soo holds up a smartphone. The screen shows the time and a message preview. Hyun-soo looks at his phone surprised. The message is from Hyun Habin. Habin groaned in reluctance. Habin absolutely didn't want to go. She thought a fine would have been easier to deal with. Habin decided there was nothing stopping her from being as late as possible. Habin hesitated, lagging behind. The sword spirit laments on her words. She complained that training was pointless since she wouldn't even be a hunter. It felt like a total waste of taxpayer money, not how the national budget should be spent. Habin continued to walk onward. As someone approaches, the hooded person asks Habin if she is the new trainee. Habin reacts with surprise. Habin thinks internally about his casual way of speaking and asks, who is he? He holds up a card in his hand. He explains that he is one of the mentors at the training center. He tells Habin not to be so on guard. He asks Habin if her suitcase is heavy and offers to carry it for her. Habin says no. As she turns, walks away. Habin's hand grips the case. She lifts the heavy case high and starts running away. A person in a dark hood watches. He smiles and laughs. Habin is shocked and wonders who that person is. She arrives at the registration area. A staff member notes the impressive tardiness of Mr. Hyun Bin. They are told it's now lunchtime and to grab a meal before the afternoon session. The Jabin is pleased by the timing for lunch. She grabs a tray of food and sat down at table. She privately wishes no one would notice her so she could eat in peace. She was about to take a bite of her meal. A cheerful man with mentor from earlier encounter appears and says hello. He sets his own meal tray down next to hers. Habin thinks dramatically about how things always seem to go the opposite of what she wants. She lets out a sigh of frustration. She indicates and that seat is taken. Another person expresses surprise, asking who has been made a friend. The reply names the seat as Kim Jaljal's. Sword looks in surprise, realizing it was his seat. The sword spirit floats nearby. The hooded figure smiles slyly. Habin questions as Guy sat down. She looked extremely annoyed, thinks, "What is with this guy?" A character with glowing purple eyes shows a nervous sweat drop. They internally assess, okay, he's slick, but I guess he really is a mentor like he said. Their thoughts continue, noting they've been receiving passive messages. A bright blue holographic screen materializes. The screen displays a message from a constellation showing great interest. Habin watches this. News spread about the two people in Korea with the same rare constellation. It was a historic shared contract between top-tier rankers. Habin couldn't believe the system Windows announcement, but it never lied. She recalled the rumors of a passive skill granting a golden hair glow, but the hoodie concealed any sign of it. Suddenly, someone poked the guy in front of her. The student turned, surprised, and quickly apologized. Then a brilliant golden light emanated from the person's head. His hoodie fall off. A wave of shock rippled through the students. Someone is utterly shocked to see Cha Ji-sok here. They question aloud why the famous SS-class hunter would be in this place. The Vice Guildmaster of Solaris Guild, Cha Ji-sok, shines with his signature golden aura as he enjoys his meal. Cha Ji-sok then addresses someone, asking if they are Habin. Another person nearby quickly replies, "Nope." Cha Ji-sok turns his attention to Habin, asking if she would like to join his guild instead. Habin wastes no time, politely declining the offer. Intrigued by her reaction, Cha Ji-sok offers to give her a preview of the guild benefits. He reveals that the starting salary alone is a staggering billion won. Habin responds plainly that a billion won is simply too low. Cha Ji-sok escalates his offer significantly, proposing 10 billion won. Habin blurts out that she already has that amount, immediately regretting saying it out loud. Habin quickly tries to cover her surprise, focusing on eating her food. Cha Ji-sok is left speechless, looking quite awkward. People are talking about Habin, who had turned down a guild contract. They learned the person had rejected Solaris itself. The whispers wondered if she is a rich, turning down billions. Habin looks clearly annoyed listening these whispers. She put down the spoon on the tray as she decided not joining. She stood up, strongly declared denial of her joining. All she wanted was to live an easy life without work. Holding her tray, she turned and walked away from the others. "No matter how much they offer, over my dead body will I join a guild," she declares fiercely while holding a wash tray in the auditorium. An announcement is made that the afternoon session will now begin. The speaker informs everyone that they will be paired with a mentor for the rest of the training period. She instructs them to follow their mentor's guidance closely during this time. She announces it's time for introductions and the afternoon session. Habin looks visibly startled by something. Man offers a formal greeting, saying they should work well together. A blonde man smiles brightly, waving a friendly hello. Habin questions why this man is her assigned mentor out of everyone here. She inwardly wonders if he somehow bribed his way into the position. The blonde man calls out to Habin. Habin immediately rejects him, declaring she won't join his guild no matter what he says. The blonde man seems taken aback, perhaps slightly amused. Habin's expression shows strong resistance. He tries to gently suggest she think about it a little more. Habin delivers a firm and blunt "nope." Her face is set in a resolute refusal. A narrator notes this is the hardline version of Hyun Habin. The blonde man looks slightly surprised by her unwavering stance. Loud knocking echoed through the air. Someone called out for Habin to get up, saying morning training was over and she was already late. Cha Ji-sok grinned playfully as he knocked on the door. Habin reacted angrily, telling him to shut up and saying she was calling a personal break. Cha Ji-sok warned that this wasn't college. He stated she would be put through retraining. Habin lay in bed, pulling the covers higher, looking incredibly frustrated. The narrator noted that he had managed to provoke Cha Ji-sok in a very unique way. Habin exploded in anger, shouting how frustrating someone was. The narrator added that, aside from that, Cha Ji-sok started lingering around Hyun Habin a lot. Later, outside, Habin was sitting on the bench. Cha Ji-sok smiled, asking if Habin watched the show Wind and Wish too. He added, "Then try The Trickster Who Fooled a Mage. That one's good too." Habin sighs softly. Scene shifts again. A laptop screen is shown. Habin lies in bed, wrapped in a blanket, looking at her laptop screen, feeling sleepy. She scoffs, "Puff, come on, like that's gonna be any good." Defensively, she added, "I have very refined tastes, thank you very much." The sword was in deep sleep. A dreamlike sparkle fills the space. Outside the window, the city sleeps under the dark night sky. Then, morning light bursts through the window. Habin feels drooling looking at her computer. Cha-Ji-sik's form outside calls out, "Habin, wake up!" Habin thinks to herself that Cha-Ji-sik is surprisingly good at recommending only truly good stuff. And there's more to come. Man asked if she's tired of cafeteria food yet. A huge box of sushi appears before her eyes, making her gasp. Wait, Habin thinks, is this Hemicia-style salmon sushi? Her eyes sparkle brightly at the sight of the food. And then there's Up and Down Chicken's half-and-half boneless spicy chicken too? No way, Habin exclaims. Is this Yomdan Tonkatsu from Jeju? She realizes you have to wait 17 hours for this, wondering how this is possible. Habin realizes all the food is from her apocalypse wish list. Cha-Ji-sek offers her a box. She questions what is going on. Habin eats, looking surprised. She wonders why the vice guildmaster of Solaris is trying so hard. A text box explains the top guild in Korea is Kaligo, led by rank 1 Kang Taiso. Asui introduces the Solaris Guild, co-founding by Korea's number 2 and number 3 rankers. It is stated that Cha-Ji-sek is one of them. Someone wonders if all this effort is just to scout an A rank. She concludes that Cha-Ji-sek knows something and came here for a reason. Cha-Ji-sek ate his food, meanwhile Sword feels proud his power had been recognized. Habin throws the sword down as the sword spirit shrieked in protest. He demanded why not. Habin responded she didn't know. Habin fell onto the bed near the sword spirit and Ahazar. Habin thought nothing major would happen. Sword spirit added a little excitement might be nice. The next day arrives, someone from staff explains, today's training involves clearing a mirror dungeon. The dungeon adjusts monsters based on your stats. You'll have your mentor with you, so don't worry. Habin shocks, gasps, exclaiming something major is happening. Habin feels like she should call in sick right now. Cha-Ji-sek tells it's too bad for her, as it's a required course with no skipping allowed. Cha-Ji-sek asks Habin why she's already looking for an excuse to ditch. Habin shouts back, her face full of frustration, saying it's about her survival. She thinks she can't say that part out loud. Her stats are revealed, 2.1 billion each, unheard of X-class, rank number 1 overall. Habin looks utterly shocked and overwhelmed by her own power level. She wonders what kind of monster could possibly match her level. The next group called for the test is announced, Group 7, Cha-Ji-sek and Habin. Habin reacts with startled surprise. The crowd murmurs enviously about teaming up with Cha-Ji-sek. They bet he will just carry the whole team himself. Cha-Ji-sek approaches Habin as Habin calls out to him. She tells him they've talked enough that she feels she should tell him something. He suddenly shouts at him to run. Habin looks back, wide-eyed and scared. The young man prepares himself as energy surges around him. After the gate disaster, 2 types of dungeons began to appear. A massive, ominous tower rose into the sky. The first type is a massive tower called the kill screen. Each floor of the tower contains a special dungeon that can be cleared, but the difficulty is so high that only high-ranking awakeners can attempt it. The second type is a randomly generated gate, a dungeon that suddenly appears right in the middle of populated areas. A hand presses firmly. The most well-known example of these training-type dungeons is the Mirror Dungeon. Unlike other dungeons, the Mirror Dungeon has no fixed rank, and it generates monsters that match the participant's level. Habin looks on, her eyes wide with unease. Beside her stands Cha-Ji-sek, ready to go inside the gate as explanation continues. Even after clearing it, it doesn't disappear, and this allows participants to leave freely. Cha-Ji-sek and Habin walks towards this mirror dungeons. Thanks to this unique trait, the mirror dungeon is considered the perfect training ground for trainees. Habin looks to the side, her expression uneasy. Cha-Ji-sek and Habin walk together towards the glowing entrance. Blue light and particles swirl, indicating a shift in reality. A vast, empty desert landscape stretches out under the sky, the wind howling. Cha-Ji-sek stands with Habin, looking out at the desolate land. A digital interface appears. Checking participants' rank, as Cha-Ji-sek feels everything creepy. Cha-Ji smiles and tries to reassure her, to nothing to worry about. He adds, "The monsters might look scary but should be the right level." Suddenly, an error message flashes. A warning that the dungeon threshold was exceeded appears. The system announces the final grade is S. More garbled text fills the screen, showing multiple high grades. Chaji-sak and the woman look shocked. Chaji-sak exclaims in disbelief about the rating. A system notification appears. It announces the rank assessment is complete. Chaji-sak looks on in surprise. Distorted sounds and effects fill the air. A monstrous purple eye opens. Another notification appears. It warns of monsters matching the participants' level. A massive clawed foot slams onto the ground. A critical alert flashed across the sky. It warned, unnamed creatures have been summoned in large numbers. One massive creature appeared and let out a powerful roar. The ground shook and trembles with a loud crash. Habin and Chaji-sak stood watching the terrifying scene unfold. Chaji-sak stands protectively in front of Hyun Habin, telling her to get back. Chaji-sak urges, warning about the creatures. A sense of unease washes over Chaji-sak. He can't see their HP bars. Purple energy starts gather around the mouth of monster. A massive purple energy blast streaks forward. Sounds of immense power echo through the crumbling environment. Chaji-sak urgently grabs someone to pull them away. He yells that something is wrong and they need to escape immediately. Chaji-sak's eyes glow with intense focus amidst the chaos. A stark red message flashes. It declares that exiting the dungeon is impossible until it is fully cleared. Someone reacts with shocked disbelief, exclaiming that it can't be right. They realize this restrictive condition only occurs in SS grade special gates. Chaji-sak makes a choked sound, his face showing strain. He summoned his golden weapon. Chaji-sak launches a blindingly fast assault with his twin golden swords. Distant monstrous figures react as the attack approaches. Chaji-sak's explosive golden energy connects with the monstrous targets. He pushes through with another fierce glowing slash. Chaji-sak observes the scene, his yellow eyes sharp. He thinks about his attacks aren't working against the imposing figure. Is it because they don't have a health bar? What in the world is happening? A sound of struggle or pain echoes. Habin gazes at a glowing blue screen. She expresses in awe, realizing this is an unmatched level of power or skill. The screen displays details about a unique ability that cheats the system. The person identifies it as a perfect match to counter the current situation. She thinks an opponent with no visible HP bar is hard to beat, but with infection of emptiness, she can simply ignore their HP stat and defeat them. Habin stands there assessing the situation. She wonders aloud, what now? Habin trembles slightly, looking anxious. A realization dawns. There's a witness right over there, as he looks her eyes on Chaji-sak. The sword spirit yells at Habin to attack. Habin looks away, deep in thought. Habin thinks about something important. She feels that something is off. Habin comments on Chaji-sak's clumsy movements. Chaji-sak fights with his glowing swords. Chaji-sak unleashes a powerful golden strike with his golden swords. Sword Spirit watches the fight and chuckles, acknowledging Chaji-sak's actions. They note that it appears Chaji-sak is prioritizing someone's safety. Habin stands amidst the debris while the Sword Spirit floats close by, looking startled. Habin activates the Infection of Emptiness kill. A system notification confirms that from this point on, all enemy HP stats will be ignored. She again gives a command, deactivate the agility restriction. A notification confirms the agility stat is now treated as 2.14 billion. The Sword Spirit cries out, excited for the true power to be shown. Habin decides to end this and silence the witness afterward. The Sword Spirit reacts in shock, asking about silencing the witness. She grips the glowing blue sword. And at last, she activates Rebirth of the War God. System confirmed. Now initiating. Habin holds out her hand as power surges around her. A message appears stating that Ahazar's skills are being retrieved. Habin prepares to unleash the power. Habin gathers immense red power into her blade. Then, Habin jumps high and unleashes a devastating pillar of red slash. Intense red energy explodes outwards. Dark, sharp forms lash out with incredible force. The air fills with the sound of a massive impact. Ch.1-10 coughs, cries out in pain as scene unfold. Ch.1-10's eyes widen in utter shock. "No way," Ch.1 whispers in disbelief, realizing this defies logic. Habin moves with incredible power, slashing through. Ch.1-10 thinks, is a raid like this even possible? Habin unleashes a devastating attack surrounded by cower. Ch.1-10 is left stunned. At this level, forget domestic comparisons. Her might is overwhelming. Oh, he corrects himself. Actually, this level of strength is unmatched on Earth. As a massive surge of energy erupts from the ground, Habin stands at the center of the immense power. The earth around them cracks and breaks apart. Sword Spirit wonders how their skills are being used so well. The Sword Spirit demands to know, when were you analyzed? The Sword Spirit looks shocked. Habin holds her sword ready for action. Habin tells him to save his breath, as she is busy. Only one monster remains. Habin tightens her grip on the sword. Habin's eyes show fierce determination. The monstrous creature is struck by immense force. Habin charges forward, moving with incredible speed. She raises her sword, ready to unleash power. Her eye glows with a fierce red light. Violent red energy slashes out. Debris scatters around her. Sharp impact sounds are heard. Ch.1-10 stares at her in shock. He whispers that monsters fell in a single hit. Finally, warping up. Monsters? Habin looks towards the Ch.1-10. She held her sword to his neck. Shock fills the air. She declares, he has seen too much today. Habin looks at him, her eyes filled with concern. Ch.1-10 meets his gaze. Her voice cuts through the air, asking him, "And you? You know that, don't you?" Habin says she thinks Ch.1-10 saw too much. A face looks strained. She asks him, he knows, right? Her eyes look intense and angry. Ch.1-10 looks down with worry. The Sword Spirit reacts in utter panic, yelling for everyone to wait. Are you really going to kill him? That guy gave us pork cutlets, and he even got hurt trying to protect you earlier. Don't kill him. That's too cruel." Habin reacts in frustration, told him to shut the F up. "He seems like a good person," Sword Spirit yells. Ch.1-10 asks, "Hey, was that a constellation just now?" while pointing toward the Sword Spirit. The small spirit stood between the woman and the man. The Sword Spirit is visibly enraged. The woman quickly changes her mind about something she said. She looks shocked and frustrated, exclaiming loudly to herself. She chastises him for saying things out loud where others could hear. The Sword Spirit appears distressed in the rubble. Ch.1-10 thinks to himself that it seems like a constellation situation. The woman looks troubled, realizing the situation is bad. She tells Ch.1-10 that he just learned something he wasn't supposed to. The Sword Spirit looks worried beside her. He apologizes profusely to Ch.1-10. Ch.1-10, sitting on the ground, replies that it's all right. Ch.1-10 confronted Habin, asking if she truly was the guardian of deceit. Habin looked aside with very expression. Then Ch.1-10 began to think about the iron sword Habin carried. Then he observes a seemingly ordinary katana. He tried to use a skill to gather information about it. A message appears, stating that the skill application failed. Then another message announces that the constellation closest light fades away. Ch.1-10 stares in shock as something around him begins to dissolve. Ch.1-10's monocle also cracked and shattered as something failed violently. It wasn't just the skill that failed and broke apart, even the constellation disappeared for a moment. A presence so huge appeared it was impossible to measure it. Later, Ch.1-10 looking surprised with shimmering particles around him. He thought to himself, wondering what that presence could be. When Habin was running with suitcase, he realizes it is a being far greater than her own constellation. Thinking back, Habin feels that all her slacking off before felt strange, just doing enough to barely pass retraining. Cha Jae-seok looks to the side and speaks. He warns that if he guesses correct, Habin is in danger now. He mentions that the information isn't public yet, but there is a hidden quest given to all SS rank and above rankers to eliminate the Guardian of Deceit. The sword spirit looked utterly shocked. Habin looked on, questioning what was happening. Recalling the system notification earlier, it announced that the system administrator had marked her as an enemy from this moment. Habin turned to face the terrifying message. Her purple eye reflected her shock. Could this be connected to opposing the administrator? Cha Jae-seok explained that his guild, Solaris, was against this quest. He offered that if you joined them, they could officially protect you. Cha Jae-seok clarified that he came as your mentor not to recruit you, but to protect you from the start. Habin reacted with surprise, questioning, "Protect?" The sword spirit echoed her surprise, muttering, "Protect? Protect, huh?" Habin cut in, apologizing for interrupting the serious moment. She then asked pointedly, "Who's protecting whom here?" Cha Jae-seok sits heavily on the ground, looking battered and bruised, while the Habin stands perfectly fine. Habin looks down at him and questions if he's seriously thinking he's protecting her. He is left speechless by the situation. Cha Jae-seok looks away. He lets out a small laugh. He trails off saying, "Yeah, he has nothing to say to that." The sword spirit starts trembling as Habin warns Zalzal he won't escape so easily. Habin told him not to speak in such way where others could hear. Habin, holding sword towards sword spirit, as sword spirit cries out in alarm, declares it was his fault. Cha Jae-seok recalls the conversation earlier on the table about Seat. He thought it was just a joke, but someone named Kim Zalzal actually exists. Suddenly, Habin confronted Cha Jae-seok, gripping a weapon, told it was his turn to explain. Habin fiercely asked how Cha Jae-seok knew she was the Guardian of Deceit. Cha Jae-seok sighs, looking down wearily, summoned a brilliant golden tablet glowing with energy. A system window appears, identifying it as the Sun Glyph Tablet. It explains the tablet is tied to prophecy, allowing glimpses of truth or the future. The sword spirit gasps in surprise. It's a prophetic ability. He's an assassin, but he has top-tier foresight skills? Cha Jae-seok holds the tablet, stating it's not very amazing and only gives vague impressions. He then admits he didn't know exactly how powerful Habin either. Looking flustered, Cha Jae-seok adds that's why he ended up making the mistake of entering the mirror dungeon with her. Habin looks intently as he adds, everyone thinks of him as an assassin class, but this is his true hidden card. Cha Jae-seok explained about the piercing eye and the golden glyph tablet, calling them insight and foresight. He described the ability as seeing ahead of others. Cha Jae-seok clarified that he didn't hear anything from anyone or gather the information himself. He reassured her that there was no need to worry about any information leaking. Cha Jae-seok sat on the ground. Habin looked down at him, pointing sword towards him. Habin then asked exactly what the Kill the Guardian of Deceit quest had stated. Cha Jae-seok explains, the quest objective is to find and eliminate the Guardian of Deceit. He clarifies that the system basically just wants the target dead. Chae Ji-suk asks about the reward for such a task. He reveals the reward is 10 resurrection stones. The sword spirit reacts with wide, shocked eyes, exclaims that the reward is insane. Chae Ji-suk adds that he and his guildmaster still oppose this quest. He believes killing someone simply because a system commands it isn't right. Habin's eyes widen in surprise. Chae Ji-suk holds the tip of the sword and confirms, "It's all true, Hyun Habin." He declares reassuringly they are on her side. Habin stands still, in thought. A silent moment passes, but Habin still speechless. The view shifts to a building complex under a vibrant sunset sky. Sword Spirit Fawn inside the house cheers, "You did good, really good." He felt that leaving a dungeon while keeping secrets was the true spirit of humanity. Habin lies on the bed, told Zalzal he had misunderstood something. Habin stated she never actually intended to kill Chae Ji-suk. Sword Spirit reacted with a surprised, "What?" The sword spirit questioned why Habin had then threatened him like a psycho. Habin paused, then reasoned that such actions were necessary to obtain useful information. Besides, Chae Ji-suk was someone I couldn't kill from the beginning. The sword spirit reacted in surprise, asking what that meant. She states that there was another witness present. She reveals witness was none other than Constellation Closest Light, Naiba. Constellation saw everything from beginning to end. Habin relaxes on a bed, deep in thought. She considers how others have probably already rushed off to spread the news of everything they saw today. Even if she were to eliminate Chae-ji-suk, the constellation already knows everything. There would be no silencing that truth. Touching Chae-ji-suk would surely provoke his constellation and another contractor. They wouldn't stay quiet about it. She pauses, contemplating the situation. Not to mention, an SS-rank hunter like Cha-ji-suk, beloved by the Korean public, suddenly dying would be international news. But then, she thinks, there's a second reason, one that actually makes her want to trust Cha-ji-suk. She looks over towards the sword spirit floating nearby. The sword spirit reacts with surprise. She recalls the moment Cha-ji-suk holds her sword trip and explains how they are on her side. Back then. Honestly, if things had gone wrong, Cha-ji-suk could have died right there on the spot. Her skill, Infection of Emptiness, targets the enemy's HP stat. As she recalls, System confirmed that all opposing entities' HP would be nullified. By chance, she had active that skill at the time. The sword spirit gasps in sudden realization. That's right, she adds. Which means, if the system had classified Cha-ji-suk as an enemy, just touching me would have killed him instantly, regardless of his HP or defense. Without knowing it, Cha-ji-suk risked his life to prove his innocence. Thinking about it now, Habin realizes she was reckless. Habin lies back, the weight of the thought settling in. Sword Spirit realizes the horrifying truth. She was glad she specified enemy's HP, just in case. She still wondered if enemy was based on his own judgment or the system. She held up a bright red potion bottle. Looking at bottle, she recalls Cha-ji-suk offered the red potion, telling her, "This might not help much, but here's a potion. You had a rough day." Habin looks up, deep in thought. She finds that guy really weird. As she calls out, "System window," she questions why he would give her something after she almost stabbed him, calling him too soft. Scene shifts. Fingers flew across the keyboard. Silence filled the space, as Cha-ji-suk lost in thought. Then a system message flashed. Constellation of Closest Light asks him why he's slacking off. Cha-ji-suk still in deep thought, worrying about Habin, whether she's okay or not. He remembered the quest the system had given, kill the Guardian of Deceit, but she had been found out. One of Korea's top rankers exposed her. Cha-ji-suk takes a sip from his mug. He thinks anyone with common sense would be shaking with anxiety right now. He pauses. He thinks about that girl. He wonders if she used to love Yumdon pork cutlet. Cha-ji-suk was standing by the door. He arrived, announcing himself to Habin. He was carrying a bag of Yumdon pork cutlet. A soft click echoed as the door opened. Cha-ji-suk looked surprised, commented that they weren't sleeping for once. Suddenly, Cha-ji-suk's eye widens as he shows someone unexpected. He questions, "What are you doing right now?" Cha-ji-suk looks surprised as he sees someone. He greets Habin by name. Cha-ji-suk says he's glad she's not sleeping in and reminds her training starts soon. Habin replies she's skipping training today for a class reunion. She adds she's looking for something to wear. Cha-ji-suk repeats, "Skipping?" with confusion. More importantly, Habin asks if he knew about the quest on his head, the one to kill him. Cha-ji-suk looks shocked, his hair bristling. He simply replies, "Ah, that." Habin looks thoughtful for a moment, looking at system display of her stats. Habin says honestly she's not too worried. She adds that worrying won't change anything. Habin reminds him they still have to keep each other's secrets. She says if people find out and crowd around, they won't be able to have fun. Cha-ji-suk looks pounder with that answer, questioning she's seriously thinking about have fun? Habin smiles, catching a delicious scent in the air. She recognizes the smell as fried pork cutlet. Cha-ji-suk encourages her to eat, since it's better than having no appetite. She thinks it works great as an appetizer. Habin is seen eating food while distracted by her phone. Questions at something, suddenly she gets furious. She accuses Sword Spirit of using its cash again. As Sword Spirit tries to sneak away, Habin quickly kicks the sword nearby. Sword nervously denies using the cash. She states it can see all the purchases and demands an answer. The scene shows Cha-ji-suk also sitting nearby, witnessing the confrontation. Sword Spirit hesitantly tries to say something. The Sword Spirit shrinks down, looking scared, starts profusely apologizing. Holding up a tablet, the sword spirit shows the purchase history. He confesses it used the cash because it was curious about a hunter genre story and couldn't resist. Cha Ji-sok looks at the tablet, recognizing the web novel is about hunters. The sword spirit eagerly confirms, "How did humans know all this ahead of time?" Cha Ji-sok agrees. He recalls that when the first gate incident occurred, people commented it was like hunter stories had come true. News clippings highlight the unprecedented accuracy of Korean hunter fiction, with popular titles becoming global bestsellers. Headlines show Korea's economy was stabilized by exporting hunter fiction, and it's now considered a must-read textbook globally. The sword spirit loudly proclaims the books are totally worthy of textbook status and incredibly informative. Someone says they now understand why sword spirit reads hunter novels, as the sword spirit holds the tablet agitatedly. Habin waves it off, saying she gets it now, but what about romance fantasy? The sword spirit reacts with shock. Listening, this silence filled the air. She scrolls through a phone showing romance novels. A screen displays the title, "I Quit Trying to Tame the Emperor," and sword spirit expresses disbelief about romance fantasy, especially full-on traditional ones. Habin reacts with disbelief. The sword spirit starts sweating. The sword spirit stammers out an explanation. It seems the scene reminded it of the past. Habin looks shocked while holding her phone. She questions the sword spirit about its reaction. The atmosphere around the sword spirit darkens. Habin asks if the sword spirit is crying. The sword spirit remains silent. Habin quickly apologizes. She tells the sword spirit it can read whatever it wants if that's the reason it's upset. Habin even offers monthly allowance, and sword spirit slowly promises to ask for permission next time. She reaches towards Ahazar to comfort him and agrees about permission. Cha Ji-sok reflects on things that surprised him about Habin. He is especially surprised about a constellation reading web novels. Cha Ji-sok continues to think. He considers the implications of the sword spirit spending money on web novels, realizing that Ahazar can exert physical influence in this world. The sword spirit excitedly asks to read another story. Habin allows it. Seeing everything, his constellation expresses frustration. Cha Ji-sok sits covering his mouth, thinks, even a powerful constellation can only send indirect messages. If this got out, it would be chaos, so he should keep quiet. Cha Ji-sok makes a sound of realization. He asks Habin when her class reunion is. Habin replies that it's in the evening. Cha Ji-sok excitedly tells her she can just go after training finishes. Habin lets out a hesitant sound. They sit together at a table. Habin is lost in thought. She softly mentions the others, wondering how they've been doing. Cha Ji-sok softly telling her to wipe off the sauce from her face if she's sentimental. Habin continues wondering if they've been doing well. Elsewhere, a soda can is put down with a bit of force. Someone states that job prospects are shot. At the reunion, people talk loudly. Someone says that even engineering grads struggle to get hired now that gates have opened up. Another person mentions thinking of dropping out of pharmacy school. Someone else asks if they think their situation is bad. A girl laments the difficulty of finding work in the medical field because of healers. Another girl reflects on how even pharmacy and medical majors struggle for employment in this world. Another man, architecture majors, confidently state their field is doing well. Another objects, reminding them that's only because monsters destroyed everything. He declares that hunters are the ones earning the most money these days. The scene focuses on Park Min-soo, a C-rank hunter, making this proud statement. The other students at the table fall silent, taken aback. They show their shock and disbelief. They question how he could say that hunters make the most money right now. They note that he is only a C rank, far below someone like Kang Tae-so. One of the students asks Park Min-soo how he has been doing lately. Park Min-soo confidently replies that he recently applied to Solaris as an experienced hire. Whoa, seriously? A friend asks him about Solaris results? Park Min-soo says the results aren't out yet. He even considers turning them down just because he can. Amidst a meal with friends, he tells the others not to worry. Park Min-soo points out how hard it is to even attend college these days because of the gates. A thought comes to someone about who couldn't graduate at all. As someone enters the room, they wonder if it was Hyun Habin. Yes, they confirm it was Hyun Habin. Park Min-soo asks what Hyun Habin is even doing these days. Park Min-soo hasn't heard from her. Someone else guesses she's just living. Habin reacts in surprise hearing her name mentioned. Park Min-soo excitedly notices Habin is here. Habin greets everyone, saying it's been a long time. Making a peace sign, Habin says she didn't realize they cared about her so much. Park Min-soo grins, saying of course he does. Park Min-soo greets Habin, noting it's been a long time and he's heard things about her. He asks if she's been working part-time related to gates. Park Min-soo says to contact him if she needs work. He places a hand on Habin's shoulder. Habin's eye sharpens as he states he's a C-rank hunter. Habin is surprised, asking if he said C-rank. He mentions that these days, C-ranks aren't treated like real hunters. He adds that many of them are dead now, expressing jealousy towards Habin. Habin's mood darkens as she reflects. He always whining about things to her, as she repeats his words inwardly. Then asks if he doesn't need in-person training or mentors, which man confirms. Another man beside casually mentions that Park Min-soo applied to Solaris. Habin reacts with surprise. Cha Ji-sok mothers her reaction, noting her response. Park Min-soo mentioned he took a shot at something but might not even go if he gets in. Habin asked if nobody was trying to scout him. Park Min-soo looked confused and asked, "Huh?" A hand patted Park Min-soo's shoulder. Habin continued asking if no one was bothering or chasing him and no guilds were hounding him to join. Park Min-soo questioned meaning of this. She continues. They weren't even interested until he applied first. Cha Ji-sok responded, "Yeah." People looked surprised as Habin seemed to be disappointed and trembling. Habin covered her face in distress, overwhelmed by jealousy. She was seriously jealous, thinking about the C rank she dreamed of so badly and why it wasn't her. Park Min-soo looked concerned and asked Habin if she was all right. Park Min-soo looked annoyed as he heard about whether skipping training was really something to be jealous of. As Man-Thing, if she was truly jealous right now? He clenched his teeth, said fiercely, "Don't mess with me, Hyun Habin." Park Min-soo looked down at Habin with a wide, furiously said she was in no position to talk down to him right now. He looking at Habin, who remained sitting and covering her face. Then he speaks saying he heard about Habin dropping out and working part-time. He told her she should be asking him for job leads instead of talking back. Someone nearby thought Park Min-soo was drunk. That person asked Park Min-soo what he was saying. Park Min-soo was told to let go. Park Min-soo asked if they thought they had some kind of backup. Someone nearby, perhaps Hyun-seo, thought Habin used to be close with Kang Tae-seo. They asked her if she was even still in contact with Tae-seo. Habin, still covering her face, looking upset, finally states if she was in contact with Tae-seo, wondering if he would apologize. She reacted strongly. Atmosphere gets darkened. Habin spoke to Park Min-soo, asking if he would say sorry for all the trouble he caused Kang Tae-seo. Habin continued, saying if he seriously planned to bow his head and beg for forgiveness. Habin suggested she might consider helping him reconnect if he apologized. As she recalls about past how Park Min-soo used to bully them, she recalls how they bully Kang Tae-seo. Broken items, including a book and an arrow, lay scattered on the ground. "I can't stand watching a school bully trash like you," Habin declared fiercely. Habin stared intensely, bathed in a glow of power. Tells him, "So shut your mouth and live quietly," as scene gets so intense.